Hello, Jazelle. Thank you so much for taking time to speak with us at the Fandid Artistpreneur podcast. How are you? How are you doing today?
Hi, Travis. I'm doing so great. I just got my coffee. I'm ready to go.
Yes.
Yeah, so I'm awake. Let's do this thing. I
Oh
know it's
man,
1
and
p.m., but like
yo, for real though, I need that 1 p.m., 3 p.m. coffee because it's a grind. It's a
it
grind.
is. Yeah.
Oh man, no, that's
Sometimes you stay up way too late, just like doing your thing, and then you gotta get up early, but then you realize it's 1 p.m. and that's not really early. So,
I mean, as being an artist, right? Like I know people that like swear by a 9 to 5. I try to
mhm.
do that, and it's really hard. But being an artist, right? We're driven by inspiration, and also we kind of have to be untethered, right, from the rigidity of normal schedules because inspiration can hit any time, and it's almost like
Yeah.
we kind of have to be available. So, yeah, I feel that. But Giselle, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me. Just wanted to get to know you, wanted to hear kind of your story, where you grew up, where you started, and really see the journey of where it's brought you today, and then also hear about the things that you're moving forward with and working on. So why don't we start at the beginning? Yeah, where did you grow up, and when did kind of music really start to impact you in a real way?
Yeah, so I actually grew up in the Philippines. I was born there, and I kind of lived most of my childhood there until I was 8. That's when my mom and I immigrated here in America because my dad's family was here. And so, how music kind of became in our family, which is a funny story because my parents, they actually met in a band. Um, yeah, they were both in this place called Yemen in Middle East.
Hmm.
I don't know if you're familiar with that place, but
Yeah.
they were both like in a band because they I guess friends of friends, and my mom's a singer, my dad's a pianist, and so when they were there, they kind of fell in love.
This
And
story is amazing.
yeah, and so which is so funny because well, not really funny because in Yemen you can't actually um like be pregnant there and not be married
Oh my
at the
gosh.
time. So yeah,
Wow.
they had to hide. I don't know if they had to hide like my mom's pregnancy for like with me
Wow.
for a while, and so she had to come back to the Philippines to give birth to me, and
Wow.
yeah, it's crazy. So yeah, my parents have been always musical. My dad's a
That's so
music
cool.
teacher on the side right now. So
Dang, piano and
yeah.
vocal. I mean, did he? I mean, do you like? Did you take after him, like the piano, or what? Oh, I'm sure with the singing and everything, I'm sure it all converged. But like, my grandma gave me my first guitar, and so then because she played, I wanted to be like her, and that's kind of what was the wedge for me. That and then
Hmm.
I started getting interested in everything. What was kind of the start for you? Was it piano, voice, or?
Um, he did try teaching me piano. Like I did learn. So I actually started with drums. So there was a time in my
Same.
child yeah, yeah. I feel like
Yo.
every musician who starts off with like drums is like in a good path because like that's like you get rhythm. Um
Yes, and you got to
and
be like
so
like a octopus, right? You got to be able to
yeah.
control different parts of your body. Same. Yes, I
So
totally
like
agree.
yeah, so I feel like I started off like at a standard bar where it's like okay, you need to like figure out like hand-eye coordination and like figure out what rhythm is and things. And so yeah, I was actually hitting some pillows when I was um in the
Love that.
Philippines, and that's kind of how I started. And then my dad started when I came here. I was 8. He started teaching me how to play drums, and then like he taught me piano, and then my mom actually was the one who taught me how to play guitar because she played guitar and sings.
Oh, so
And then
cool.
yeah, and now the instrument that I stick with, like I feel like is the one that I play is bass. Um, so I play
That's so
bass.
cool. Oh my
That was like the
gosh.
last instrument that I learned. But I fell in love with it. Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. One of my best friends, his name is Tyler Carroll. Taco, shout out to Taco. He was a bassist for my old band, and I just remember he was the first person that I met that like loved bass because I played
Yeah.
bass in church like after drums and things, and but I would play it just because we didn't have another bass player, and then when other people started to play it, and I kind of transitioned. But he introduced me to like Pino Palladino. He introduced me, to all of these great basses. So that's so cool. And now, I mean, I just got to shout him out. Now he's playing for the Jonas Brothers, and we're like so proud of
Yo,
him and like so
what the
happy for him.
heck?
I know. And
That's crazy.
we just play these gigs, we play a lot of gigs to nobody, and he would just always have like a great attitude, and he's just the homie. And yeah, he's really showed me that, yeah, like it is possible. He's, just stay focused and be a good person. But wow, that's so cool that with bass. When did you feel like you wanted to like be in this like world? Like when did you feel like, man, I want to be an artist. I want to like really jump in fully.
Yeah, I feel like at the end of my high school, well, I feel like I've always been writing songs like by myself, but I never really shared it to anybody. And
Mm.
so I actually, my dad's band, because he had a band here in America, his bass player unfortunately passed away because he had
Oh.
cancer.
Mm.
And so that's kind of why he was like, hey, why don't you try playing bass and stuff? And I learned it, and I was in that band since I was 14, and I was in that band for 7 years ish. Now I'm 21. I think I actually started when I was 12, actually, I think. I don't
Wow.
remember, but I just recently I just recently stopped playing for them just because this is like the time where I really wanted to like pursue my artistry and like my songwriting too. So I would say it started like pretty much before COVID, during COVID, and right now. I feel like COVID really, like the season of COVID, really made me passionate. Just, obviously everybody was in quarantine, and so I had
Right.
a lot of time to
Right.
just dig deep down in like my thoughts and my feelings, and I just wrote and it came.
Wow. That's so cool. I mean, what was it about the pandemic that really kind of, I guess, allowed you really to focus? I mean, of course, time, right? That's always everything is like a time suck, right? Like we've got, even if we're going to get groceries, right? We're like, oh man, time. Was it like the prevalence of time that allowed you, or were you able to? Was there any other catalyst that you were like, you know what, like I've been wanting to do this for a while? I guess the thing that I'm also trying to, I'm wondering is when did it feel real to you? Like, was it through playing with the band that you felt like, man, like this is so fun, and I'm seeing other people do this, and like I can do this too? Yeah, I'm asking when was that moment?
Like, when was a moment that I wanted to play bass, or like somewhere?
Or that you because it seems like you were playing bass for a while and with the band, right? And you're seeing all this kind of just happen. Was there a point in time in that journey that you were like, yo, I could actually be the artist. I could be the one, not just, playing bass? Or was it because of the pandemic that, sitting with your thoughts and, just trying different things that gave you kind of the strength to go for it?
Yeah. It's funny because I actually enjoy playing music, whatever it is that I do. Even if it's like playing bass for an artist. Like I recently just played a gig for Ashley Mehta, and she's an artist here in the Bay Area. She's down in,
shout out to Ashley.
yeah,
Love her.
Ashley.
Yeah.
So it was cool just like, playing bass for other artists, but obviously there's that like nagging desire to just like make songs of your own and like
Right.
just let the world hear your story. And so yeah, I feel like I really wanted to write my own story. I mean, like, I feel like, I don't know, it's just like that feeling where you want to write something so personal to you, like, and you want to write something that hopefully affects other people too, right? And I think the mission that I have now in terms of sharing my music is to really resonate with people, to connect with people, and to ultimately make them feel loved, because I feel like the world really is depressing a lot of the times. And I go to a church called Resonate, and I'm Christian. Shout out. And one of the things that I felt like God has put on my heart is really share like love and let people know that they're loved, because I feel like nobody really knows that until,
Right.
Someone tells them, or somebody that connects with them. People could tell you like, hey, like, I love you kind of thing. But when they don't like connect with it, they won't truly know like the effect that it had on them.
Absolutely. Wow. That's so beautiful. I love that your mission for your music is really to help people feel loved, because the mission for my music and kind of for my what I've been realizing my life purpose is I want to do everything that I can with every breath in me to try and reduce suffering for creatives. And I it's been amazing, doing some of these podcast episodes. I mean, all of them, because the through line that I keep feeling from a lot of artists is we want to help make the world a better place, but really we want to help impact people at a personal level, because music is kind of, I say this thing that music is actually the great equalizer, meaning like the person that, the billionaire, whatever person, who's in his 60s or her 60s, and then the student that's, 14, it could be fans of the same person, or the same music, and it equalizes us because there's no hierarchy. And I love that you were just saying that it's about giving to people. What, in what ways have you felt, like your music has really impacted, at least I guess my question is, where have you seen that play out? And if it's at church, because I grew up in church, I was a worship leader for years, and that was where I was able to see firsthand like how music can actually really help people.
I have a similar story with you. I actually didn't grow up like Christian. I was Catholic, and I think it was like, that's why I'm saying like the COVID season was really impactful for me in all aspects of my life, because that's actually a time where I started going to a Christian church and started really learning about like what the gospel is, and like
Wow.
like who God is in our lives. And it also shifted my understanding and perspective of music. And so back then I was kind of in this like pride moment where it's like, oh yeah, like I want to be like a singer-songwriter and be like, on top of the best or whatever. And I feel like really diving into the worship world, I also like serve in worship, and I also lead worship and play bass for worship. That's the first time that I felt like the music really like shot an arrow through my heart. Like I get goosebumps even talking about it, just because like I feel like sometimes when you're in the music scene, like you might just go through this routine, like you don't actually enjoy the music. I don't know, like in the music business, like you just create to get on top, like you just create to be successful, but you don't love your music. And so I think being in the worship world, like that's the first time that I really felt impacted and wanted to impact people's lives too, based on like what I create, because of what I've experienced, so it's kind of like, sorry I'm talking a lot, but it's kind of like
please,
that thing where you watch a really good movie and like you really want to share it to another person, and so
that's so well said.
And like your joy isn't complete unless you share it with that person. And so that's kind of like how I feel.
Oh, that's so great. I was actually just talking in another podcast with my buddy that so I've been reading this book, and it's kind of proposing an idea through something called Adlerian psychology, and the way that they define happiness in the book is through contribution. And growing up in church, so much of what our ministry was giving to people, right? Was contributing to people. And oftentimes I like this idea of happiness as contribution, because so many times like we're searching for happiness, right? We're searching for something to make us happy, or some experience to make us happy. But weirdly, what I've found in my life, that this theme that keeps happening is I'm never happiest when I'm alone. Like I'm happy when I am alone and I don't feel alone, right? Because we can be surrounded by people but still feel lonely, and then we can be all alone and feel not lonely. But it's through like when I'm on stage and I'm because when I play my shows, I come from that worship leader aspect of like, this is not y'all looking at me. No, this is we together. And that's why I even throw like covers into my live concerts now, like because I do a lot of covers, but like, Always Be My Baby is one, we all know that song, karaoke. And what I want is for people to sing together.
Yeah.
And it's like I've just noticed in my life that I'm happiest when I feel like I'm giving to people. And I get so anxious in my head when I feel like I'm not giving to people. And I feel like that's what I was hearing through what you were saying of like being in the music industry. It can be really draining at times because one, we could be working on a song that we don't like because it's for a different artist, right? It's something that we wouldn't necessarily release or create. So that's kind of confusing in our hearts and minds, right? Of like working on something that we don't really fully, want to express ourselves. But then two, sometimes we put our pride into the outcome. But what I felt like I heard from you, Jazelle, is that the outcome isn't really our responsibility, but it really is if we're experiencing the music together, then people can make for what it is on their own versus just looking at music as a transactional thing.
Yeah, absolutely. No, well said. That is exactly like, I feel like what has been going through my head. Another thing is I feel like community is really valuable in the music industry too. Like, I just went to a listening party for a fellow artist, couple days ago, and he had his friends and family over, and we were all just listening to his album, and it actually just came out today. Shout out to Ian Santillano.
Shout out to Ian.
Yeah, and so the fact that he was able to bring people together, and everybody like was so nice. Everybody was kind, just having a good time, and nobody was really like prideful, and I don't know. Nobody was really prideful in like the way they talk to people, like sometimes when you like talk to bigger artists, like they can have like the persona of like, yeah, like, hold up, I'm doing my own stuff kind of thing. Nobody was really like that. In the community, everybody was so supportive. Everybody was there for Ian, even if we were all different artists. So I just love the community so much. I feel like I really sometimes am guarded in the music industry too, because I want to work with authentic people, and I really want to change the culture. I feel like I really want to be one of those people who fight for that culture.
Wow. Jazelle, you give me so much hope, honestly, for your generation and the next. And because, I feel like, I started Fandid from that same kind of energy. Was like the very first concert I ever played, I was in a band called New Heights, and this was the first band I ever formed, and I was a lead singer, but I was the only one that wasn't Korean, and also Filipino. But like, I remember the very first show we played in 2006. It was just this battle of the bands. We were fresh out of high school, and this like angry white man. We didn't do this with any other band. There was probably like 7 bands or 6 bands on the roster, and we were the only ones that were fully Asian American. And he just kept yelling at us to go home. And we didn't know, at the time we were like, oh, this guy maybe is drunk or something. But then my dad got up, who's like a Marine, and my older brother, who's like bigger than me. They both got up and said, you go home. And I was like playing, with my acoustic guitar, like, oh my gosh, am I going to see my dad punch some guy while I'm singing this love song? And the reason why I bring that up is because like what you just described with, shout out to Ian, with his listening party is what I've always craved since I was like 18, because after being in this industry for more than 15 years, it always felt like I was like working on a project all alone. Even if I did do a Kickstarter, it just felt like I was all alone. And what I've learned over time is that working with your community on something is actually better, right? Kind of what you're describing, like everybody came together and everybody was excited for Ian. There was no animosity. It was just about like believing in someone's dreams, right? And weirdly, how when we believe in each other's dreams, those dreams actually become real, and then they compound, and then other people's dreams get realized. And it's just this like kind of thing that keeps happening. And that's the good that we're trying to create with Vandit. So for us, we believe that, asking our community that believes in us, that the first ones, the day ones, if they wanted to invest into our albums, that's kind of our thing of what we're talking about, of what we're trying to push forward is, donation is a one-time thing, but investing, like we're already investing into our friends, right? Just by showing up at places, by buying their merchandise, by, telling everybody about things. And so for us, we're just like, well, what if we were allowed people to like earn as well with us, type of thing. But I just want to ask you real quick, you did talk about community, and also just, what's coming up for you. Like, I would love to hear kind of like, what is it you're working on right now? What's like the next steps, and what's like the, this year and next year and the year after look for you?
Yeah, so I actually just finished a year-long worship internship that I did for my church. So it just ended like last Wednesday. And
congrats.
That was a really, really, thank you so much. It was a really cool experience. Just learning about ministry and learning about the music world. And what's next for me is that I just released a single called Back to You. And that is really, really, thank you so much. That is really like personal to me, because that is about like my walk with God.
Wow.
Yeah, like it's super, also one of the few songs that I released that I really feel proud of musically, in terms of production wise, how it sounds like. And I've grinded a lot on like really like learning how to produce, learning how to mix my own stuff. And
Wow.
Alvin Reyes, Audioneer, they shout out to them. They were the ones who like mastered and like helped me out through it. And just like, yeah, I just grinded my butt off in terms of like how to like produce properly. And so
wow. What's your DAW? Do you use Pro Tools or?
I use two. I use Logic Pro and Studio One.
Nice.
Yeah, so that's kind of where I mix my vocals.
Yeah, it's funny when you were talking. I always say this thing that I believe art is our soul's expression in music form, and when you said that this song is so meaningful to you because it's like it's about your walk with God and about your spirituality. I don't know, I feel this energy from you that like you are your music, and I don't ever want that to get muddled or to get anybody else to come away from this and to think that we are anything else. No, we are our music, right? And I'm so excited for you and for what's next. And I love how authentic you're being, because it's way too easy in this industry, right, to be inauthentic, because there's so many things telling us someone we should be, or someone that, other people telling us to be. And we should not live other people's lives, right? We have our life here, and we have the greatest honor to live it, right? And as an artist, what other better honor than to create music that's authentic to ourselves, but also through that authenticity, we're speaking for other people that don't know how to say the words, right?
Yeah. That is exactly how I feel. You're cool. I vibe with you.
Yes.
But also, can I just say, like, I'm a big fan, even before, like, Julian was like, hey, you're gonna do an interview with Travis Atreo. I was like, bro, are you serious? I listen to his covers on Spotify all the freaking time.
What?
So I was super excited.
One of these hugs are in store for sure.
Are you down in LA or?
Yeah, I'm here in LA.
Okay.
But my older brother, he lives in the Bay, and I'm due for a trip to go visit him. And me and Elvin have been talking about how we need to hang out and see each other. So yeah, I definitely will be seeing you sooner. Are you planning on coming down to LA at all anytime soon?
Ashley's down there, so I sometimes like go there like occasionally for gigs, and if there's any opportunity, I would love to just go.
Yeah,
how did you meet Elvin?
Session.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yo, I'd be honored.
Sorry.
Like, meet you, Ashley. That'd be sick. I met Ashley at an event, like a Filipino. It was like a bunch of Filipinos in entertainment came together, and we ate at, I think, was it La Cita? No, somewhere. And so I met her there randomly. And then like a few other friends were like, you ever heard of Ashley? And then I was like, what? I just met her. So, you know, it was kind of that one of those moments. And then
Yeah.
Elvin I met through, he was one of those that I've heard of for a long time. And a lot of people were saying, how do you not know Elvin? And so it kind of all came finally to a head. But it was honestly the biggest connector was probably my manager Guji in the Philippines, who's from the Bay. And so, you know, he's known Elvin for years. But if I can ask you, okay, first of all, to recap, yes, next time you're down here, let me know. We'll set up a songwriting session. Maybe we could do like a live podcast, you know, songwriting session or something.
Yes.
But two, if I can ask you, like last question, um, if you could go knowing everything that you know now about the music industry and about like where the intentionality of your music, if you could go back to like your 13-year-old self and you know, envision that self of yours, if you could tell that 13-year-old version of yourself, any advice, any mentorship for, you know, the road ahead, knowing what you know now, what would it be?
And so I would say to my 13 or 15-year-old self, just make your own music, you know, like release it. That's what I would tell them. Release it. Like put it out. No matter how crappy the production is, like put it out. At least it's out there and you have room to grow when it's out there. Because if you just keep it, then you're just going to keep telling yourself, oh, it's not good enough. I'm not going to release it. And so when it's actually out there, that when people hear it and couple years later you hear it and you're like, oh, I can make something better. Like I feel confident now. Like I can produce something like a lot more meaningful to me. And that's when you really push yourself, is when it's out there and when it's there, like, you know, it's manifested. It's not just like in your head. It's not just in you. It's like outside of you already. And so I would tell myself that, to just release something and keep growing.